There was a day that the house of God was a safe haven from violence, but that day is long past. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from, fun fact, the finest station of the finest sheriff's department in the United States, where I used to work with some of the finest deputies, Vista, California.
Palm pepper spray has recently reformulated for even more effect when you bless the deserving with the hot sauce. Palm is what I use between a harsh word and a gun and encourage everyone to do likewise. It's Sunday and officers have been called here to this church because there's a man on the inside of the church who has apparently drawn a gun and put it to his own head. That man is apparently a member of the community. His grandson is there with him as well. So obviously that brings all the boys to the yard with the long guns. We do have badge cam with audio from here. So let's listen in as they're going to encounter this man with a gun in his hand coming out of the church.
Well, he has a gun and we're here now to make sure that no one else gets hurt or no one gets hurt. So we need information.
Okay.
And we'll be the ones that are stepping in now from this point on. Okay? So which building is it?
It's he's right there by the door.
Is that him right there?
Yes, but
okay.
Yes, please.
Hey, sir. That's him with the stick or the cane? Okay. All right. Hey, I need you to walk towards me. Walk towards me. Are you his grandson?
Yes.
Okay, walk towards me. Walk towards my partner, please, right over there. Hang out with him, okay? Hey, sir. Sir. Hey, drop the gun. Drop the gun for me. Put the gun down. Put it on the ground. Put it on the ground. Drop it. Drop it on the ground.
Drop the gun. Pa, drop the gun.
Sir, drop the gun on the ground for me, please.
Sir, put the gun.
Sir, drop the gun, please. Hey, I need you to listen. Drop the gun for me, please.
Sir.
Please, sir. Please. Please, drop the gun. Drop the gun, sir.
Sir,
please.
put the gun down.
I don't want to hurt you. Please drop the gun. Drop the gun.
Put it on the ground.
Drop the gun for me, please, sir. Put it on the ground.
Sir, put the gun on the ground.
Put the gun on the ground, sir, please.
Sir.
Please.
Put the gun on the ground.
Please. I don't want to have to shoot you.
Sir.
Please drop the gun. Please.
Put it on the ground. Papa.
7 shots fired. Get him. Right here. You got hooks? I got hooks. Who's got the gun? I got the gun. You got it? Okay. All right, tourniquet. Tourniquet him up. Tourniquet him up. You got it. Tourniquet him up. Right knee.
Why not in the head?
Hey, can we get another tourniquet staged?
Another one.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's all messed up.
dang.
It's covered in blood.
Do I just
My leg is already messed up.
We got you, man.
Oh, you got me, all right?
We're gonna help out. I'm gonna go a little higher.
As you see it again from the surveillance footage, you can see the guy kind of pinching the gun in 2 fingers and kind of holding it away from him. What ended up happening here is Deputy Williams took one shot and purposefully put it in the guy's knee. It went through that leg and into his other leg and out his other leg as well. So it shot him through and through in both legs. Now, they have decided, the district attorney decided that charges were not appropriate for the man with the gun here. They got him to the hospital, got him the treatment that he needed for his gunshot wounds, and then got him to mental health treatment as well. You did hear him say, "Why not in the head?" This clearly was an attempt at suicide by cop. Deputy Williams therefore used his rifle, his patrol carbine, in an attempt to use it as a less lethal tool. We're going to talk about that in the lessons. Seriously, you used to work in Vista?
Yeah.
Dual sworn over there with San Diego County Sheriff?
Yeah, cross sworn, special deputy, federal agent, just balling out and catching bad guys and taking them to jail.
Did you ever have to end up at a church like this?
No churches.
No churches. All right. Well, let's take a look. You know, Mike, here in 2023, man, I was a pastor for 14 years. I know you were a worship leader for many years. And it used to be you didn't really think about this stuff in the house of God, but you definitely have to today.
Yeah, for sure. It's unfortunate, that you teach a very extensive church safety class at our conference every year, and it's something that you have to be as a leader in any kind of house of worship, mosque, synagogue, church, whatever. Got to be cognizant of it and plan appropriately. These guys kind of had their stuff together. I don't know what goes on inside the church, but they're out there talking to the cops and kind of vectoring them in and giving them an idea what's going on. Then we see our bad guy come out here, and I got to say, this is very bizarre. I've never seen someone, whether or not they were trying to attempt suicide by cop, come out holding a gun like that, sort of holding it with two fingers by the end of the grip. But it's certainly confusing for the deputies. Like, okay, what is this guy? What are we dealing with here? What's he trying to do? What's he trying to get us?
I love here that the deputy had a long gun. Gosh, if I'm going to a call with a man with a gun, I absolutely want a long gun with me, and that's why I think every cop needs a patrol carbine. Secondly, this deputy was using his sling correctly, and we give a lot of people crap about incorrect sling use. Not so in this case. Well done on that little piece of information that he just threw that sling over his neck and over his shoulder. That's great. Now, you got to make decisions here because this is not what you would typically see. You can kind of see already, but we're going to stop it here and recognize the man does indeed have a gun. I want you to see how he's holding that gun. So he does have a gun in his hand. That gun is pinched between his thumb and index finger by the bottom of the grip, so he couldn't fire it from there. So it's not immediately deliverable, though he could regrip that gun relatively quickly. I'm thinking in a half second or 3/4 of a second, and it become a deadly threat. So it's this odd place, Mike, that it's not an imminent deadly threat right now, but it's an impending deadly threat anytime he decides he wants to force these officers' hand.
Yeah, it's certainly impending. I would be very uncomfortable with the idea of somebody with a gun in their hand with unknown intentions walking towards me. I know people will say, well, it's obviously a suicide by cop. They should have treated it like that. But as I've said a million times, someone who's determined to have you kill them will push it as far as they think they need to push it to get you to pull the trigger. We have a very different outcome this time, very unique sort of outcome with him using his rifle the way he did. But, at any moment, this guy could either reach over and grab that with his left hand and use it, or flip it up and use it with his right hand. It's under a second is the time you're going to have to react to that. We talk about human performance all the time, so it's a tough spot.
It really is a tough spot. Now, I admire the deputy here who says, man, can I find a way not to shoot this guy and take his life with my rifle? And I think he asked several times, please, sir, put the gun down. I don't want to shoot you. I don't want to hurt you. But this guy clearly is not interested in that. And so he gets to a place here. He's at 10 yards, 30 feet. He makes a decision here that when those guys' knees are together, that I'm going to shoot him through the right knee, ends up shooting him through both of them there, and tries to use the gun in a less lethal manner. And the only other time I've ever seen this out of Utah, Mike, it ended up being talked about by the department that it was outside of policy to use the firearm in that manner, and he was disciplined for that. A gun is not to be used in a less lethal manner, and I kind of worry here that a fortunate outcome is gonna reinforce a decision that I don't think was a good decision.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. A couple things come to mind here. One, we can't forget the fact that at the end of the day, this man is advancing on his partners with a gun in his hand with unknown intention. So you have to take that into consideration. It's possible he could have used his rifle as deadly force and ended up being considered justified because that's what was happening in that moment. Wouldn't have been comfortable with that, shooting the guy without the gun being properly gripped in his hand, but he potentially could have done that and been within policy. Another thing, everyone's yelling at this guy at this point. We need to decide who is giving commands and let that one person give commands. You can never build even the slightest bit of rapport with someone if you've got three people yelling all at the same time. So decide, if you're the guy in the middle and he's walking towards you, be like, hey, Bob, you're on comms. You got comms. And establish that, or establish it as you're walking up. That way, we're not having a bunch of people yelling commands that we can't understand because there's too much going on, or God forbid, conflicting commands and end up shooting him because he did something your partner said and not what you said.
I will also say it's 30 feet away, which, obviously for a rifle is very short range. This is, kind of layup level shooting. If you feel like you can hit somebody in the knee, which is what he did here at, at 10 yards, can you hit that gun instead? Now, I'm not saying he had to do that, and I get it. They're about the same size target, though. So if you feel like you can hit one, I feel like maybe that might have been a choice as well that you might have chosen. Hey, you know what? I'm going to take a shot there. I also think this is why somebody needed to be on less lethal. This is why we needed to coordinate this a little bit ahead of time and just say, John, you're on communication. I'm on lethal. You're on less lethal. Let's go. And then that way everybody has a spot. Because again, in this spot, you say, hey, hit him with the taser, or dump that OC spray on him, or whack him with the beanbag shotgun. Whatever it is you've got that's less lethal in that moment. Because shooting him with the rifle, now you got to worry about the fact that you've done him great bodily harm. You put a shot through his legs. And now, did I hit an artery? Is he going to bleed to death? Thankfully, he dropped the gun, so we don't have to worry about that. I love the fact that he had the gun on his rifle on a sling, so you could put that slung rifle behind him and then get to work on taking care of this guy. And also, Mike, thank God these guys had their tourniquets. They were able to get him into custody quickly, get the tourniquets on him, and quite frankly, save this man's life.
Yeah, let me say something about the Vista station of the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. I worked with them for a number of years. Probably the best years of my career were spent up there working gangs and dope on different task forces with the Vista Get Street team. Great people. Never met a deputy I didn't absolutely adore. They're highly trained. These guys are very well trained, and they stand down for 2 weeks a year or do nothing but training for 2 weeks on top of their normal in-service training and firearms training. So it's a great agency. I think we have to talk about medical stuff. I think it's obvious every deputy, every officer in the year of our Lord 2023 should have, at the very least, a tourniquet on their equipment at all times. These guys were well prepared for that. The big question really is, what do we think of the shot? What do we think of him using his rifle as sort of an improvised, less lethal? And should this guy face discipline? Should he be fired? There's a lot of questions that have to be asked, but I feel like at the very least, he was trying to save this guy's life. So I think at the end of the day, we have to take that into account when deciding what are we going to do with this deputy, how are we going to proceed with him down the road, because I think his intentions were good, although his technique was a little bit, shall we say, unorthodox. Shout out again to the Vista street teams, all you guys deputies out there, stay safe, and let's do the best job we can in covering our ass.